Welcome back to Eat the Fucking Food. I'm your host, Kristin Collins. And before we begin, I just want to tell you this is your last chance to jump into my Game on Nutrition 12-week nutrition cohort, which starts next Monday. This cohort is for the women who want to finally learn to eat enough so they can start thriving through their day instead of merely surviving. You will learn how to find a balanced plate, that eating more does not mean gaining weight. It just means your biomarkers get better, your sleep gets better, your digestion gets better, your energy gets better, and you might actually see the progress you've been chasing with diets all along. If that sounds good to you and you want to join me, head to my website at KristinCollinsHealthCoaching.com and sign up. This is the last call. All right, but now to the good stuff. If you're someone who likes to skip lunch because you're too busy, there's not enough time, you get distracted, our guest today, Kelly Chall, is made perfectly for you. I want you to pause this and go follow her on Instagram at ChallKel, where she does lunchtime cooking with Kelly. And she shows you just how easy lunch can be to pull together, that it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. And most of all, it can be delicious. Eating healthy doesn't mean boring. Kelly is a certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach, and also a running coach. So we talk about how much your nutrition plays into your success if you're an endurance athlete like Kelly, or if you're a tennis player like me. And if right now you're thinking, hey, I'm not either, I want you to stick around, because it's just as important is for athletes to eat up to their knees. Every woman needs to do the same, just so they can finally feel their best. The best part of the interview comes at the very end, where I ask Kelly what her favorite meal is, and she explains why she doesn't really cut any specific foods out of her diet. Imagine that you never cut a food out unless she doesn't like it or it affects her body in a not so great way. So these are the reasons you need to listen. Let's go and meet Kelly Chall. Kelly Chall, welcome to the podcast. I am so happy you are here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
But before we start, I have to tell you something funny. So years ago, in a different lifetime, you used to lead workouts, and my husband knew you as the pistol squat person. And today, as I came up to record this, he's like, "Who do you have?" And I said your name, and he kind of goes, I go, "Pistol squats." He goes, "Oh, she was so good at
That's awesome.
it."
If I'm
Yes,
remembered for anything, I want it to be pistol squats. I
pistol
love
squats.
that.
Fantastic. He used to joke, because we are not in the full body pistol squat. And he's
Okay.
like, she's showing off on those videos. But I'm so happy here. But the thing is that he remembers you from your enthusiasm and how much you love
Oh,
health and fitness, and which is why I love you and really wanted to have you on the podcast. The thing I love many things about you, but the one thing, lunchtime cooking with Kelly on Instagram,
yes.
is a favorite of mine. How
Oh.
did it start?
It was just random. I decided to make a video. I think I'd given myself like a little challenge to do a reel a day because, social media, like I've always been, I kind of go back and forth. I like get really into it and then I get exhausted from it. And then, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show people what I'm eating. Because to me, I thought it was so simple. And I forget, somebody said it. I think it was somebody at work. They're like, not everybody thinks what you think is simple. Like what you think is simple, not everybody does. And so I was like, well, okay. And I think I posted one or two videos and I had so many people comment or message me telling me that it was helpful. And I was like, well, shoot, if you want to see what I have to eat for lunch, like if I can help you, I would set up my phone and then I would just make my lunch. And it just kind of turned into something that I was doing every day. And since people told me it was helpful, I just kept going with it and then got to have some fun with it.
I love it. And the thing I love most about lunch is that's a meal I think a lot of us tend to blow through.
Mhm.
And I've learned the hard way, before I got versed in nutrition, that that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Food is energy. If we want to have energy at 3 and 4 in the afternoon, our breakfast and our lunch are so critical. But
Yes.
lunch is that time where we're busy. Like right now, part of me is like, I gotta eat lunch after this. We're taping this at lunchtime, my time. Your lunches are really healthy, and most importantly, they look really simple to make.
Yeah, and that was another thing
Yeah,
with showing is because I wanted to show that it doesn't have to be complicated. It
right.
doesn't, because like you said, lunchtime, a lot of times people will either skip it or they'll go out to eat or they'll order lunch or
Mhm.
whatever, which is fine, whatever works for you. But I wanted to show that if you do a little extra work when you're preparing dinner or when you're getting ready for the week, that you can use those ingredients for lunches throughout the week. I have tried all of the ways for meal prepping. I've done it where I've tried to follow a meal guide. I've done it where I've made the actual meals and put them in containers because I thought that's what I needed to do. And I would find myself wasting so much food. And then I would get so annoyed that I was wasting food because I was spending this time. And I finally clicked for me that the best thing for me to do is to batch, cook some protein, cook some rice or carbs, have some veggies on hand, like have all the ingredients. Some of them already cooked, some of them easy to prepare, and then just grab those ingredients. So when I stopped trying to make it like this complicated, this meal had to follow a certain recipe or and had to have all these ingredients, I just grabbed things that I enjoy and I found it was so much easier to have a healthy lunch that hit the macros that I wanted to hit and I enjoyed eating it.
Totally. And I think that's the part we often miss out when we start our health journey, for lack of, a better phrase, that we think it has to be so much harder than it is. And it has to be perfection and it can only be done one way. I love that you said, I eat the foods I enjoy. There's no one food, there's no one perfect thing. Can you give me some examples of the combos you throw together for lunch?
Yeah, so my kind of go-to is typically a protein. If I have protein cooked, like if I cook a bunch of chicken
Hmm.
at once or a bunch of ground beef or whatever it is, I will take protein, rice, and then some sort of salad. I like the bag salads. Those are
Yeah,
super easy. Sometimes I'll use the dressing, sometimes I won't, just depends on what it is. But it's kind of a layered of like the lettuce or salad mix and then some rice. I'll heat it up for just a little bit so it's not cold but not real hot and then I'll throw protein on top of that. And then I really like different like toppings. So I'll do like pickled onions or, some cucumbers or something with crunch. Just depends on what I have. And that
right.
it's just a bowl. I mean, I guess you could call it a salad because there's lettuce, but a lot of times it's just a bowl of protein, veggies, carbs, and some toppings.
I love it. And the thing is, this has been a recurring theme as I talk to people on this podcast. Like, that sounds delicious to me. Like, I know it is delicious.
Uh,
And that I believe is another mindset shift that people have to make, that healthy doesn't need to be boring and plain. Like, we think like plain chicken breast,
yeah.
iceberg lettuce, no
Yeah.
fun. You said you put rice in your
I
bowls.
do. I do. Depending on where I'm at in a training season, if I'm training for a race or if I have more miles that I'm running, I'm doing more activity, I'm exerting more energy. I need to be eating more energy in order to keep energy. And so I will add just some rice to that. I love rice. I could eat it all day, every day. But also, I found when I first got into tracking food, I found that carbs were one of those that like I didn't realize I was eating as much as I should. And I think it just goes back to hearing like low carb, So it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I need to make sure, that I'm eating them. There's no shortage of carbs in my life nowadays, but it's just one of those way to add carbs to the meal, and I enjoy rice, so
I
just
love it because I feel that's a food. I eat rice every day probably, but rice, potatoes, bananas, call them the scary foods for a lot of women because they've been told, no, you can't, that's your problem. Where they're phenomenal sources of energy, as you said. And it's about the portions
yes,
as much as what you're putting in. But you said where you are in your training. So you're a runner,
I
right?
am. Yes.
Yeah. Are you training for anything right now?
I'm kind of in between right now. I
Yeah.
had a half marathon back in the end of November. That was like my big race that I had been training for.
Wow.
I'm running a half marathon this weekend with a friend, but doing it more so like pacing her. She's one of my training clients who's doing her
Mhm.
first half.
Good for
So,
her.
yeah, I'm so excited. So I get to run it with her, but be there to kind of pace her. Like I'm not worried about my finish time, which just kind
Yeah.
of takes a little pressure off of me, and it'll be fun with her. But I'm still running,
Yeah.
so I
Right.
know that when I'm not running as intense as I would be if I had, well, with it being this weekend, I would be tapering anyway. but the added movement. So if you think about it, our body is striving for this energy balance. We want to balance the energy out and the energy in. The energy in is our food, the energy out is our exercise or just movement throughout the day. And so I know personally that when I'm running more or I'm exercising more, I need to make sure that I'm eating more, because if I'm doing more movement and exercise but I'm not fueling, that's not going to have any benefits that come from it. My recovery is going to take longer. I'm not going to have as much energy. I'm not going to be building muscle if I want to. I won't be as fast as I want to be when I'm running. So just knowing that energy, you have to kind of keep a gauge on how much food is coming in comparison to how much energy you're expending.
100%. And I want to dig into that a little bit more deeper because I don't think a lot of people make the connection. I know a million years ago when I was running, I was training for the Chicago Marathon. There was no running nutrition. I mean, it was like, yeah, there was more carbs probably. But if I look back now and I'm like, oh, no wonder you got a stress fracture after the race, like running 18, 20 miles with no carb intake during the race. And now many people aren't doing that, but carbs are for performance. It helps us recover, it helps us go. You are a running coach, you're a nutrition and fitness coach. Even if someone's on a huge runner, what should we look like? How do they manage that energy balance? Are there guidelines? I know every person's different and there's no one size fits all, but can you talk a little bit about like the general guidelines that people who are running or doing some sort of endurance sport might want to take into account for themselves?
Yeah, so you want to think about 30, and again, it depends on your size, it depends
Right.
on how fast you run, the energy. But if we're saying a roundabout way, you want to think anywhere from 30 to 40 grams of carbs before your race. What I like to do is I'll have usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'll have like
Nice.
half of it on the way to a race, depending on how long that is. And then I do use some of these gel packs
Right.
that are literally just carbs, and I'll have one of those about 30 to 40 minutes in. And if I'm doing a
Hmm.
half marathon, I'll do a gel at 30 to 40 minutes in, so about 3 to 4 miles, 4 or 5 miles, and then another 30 minutes, depending on how much longer I have to go. And
Right.
that was one thing with me. I kind of have like two seasons of running. One was before I was a personal trainer. It was when I was first pregnant with my oldest, who's 13 now, and I just focused on running. I was like, why would I need to strength train? Why do I need to worry about anything else? I'm just running. So, and through that, I got bursitis in my hip. I would have to ice my knees every time after a long run. I would be on the couch for, the rest of that Saturday. But I just thought they were normal things with running, which is just silly thinking back at it. But then I kind of entered into running again 3, 4 years ago. Now, with being a personal trainer, with having the nutrition education and all that. And so now I've been so passionate about helping people keep the strength training and the nutrition with the running as well, because like you said, you did the Chicago Marathon, which is huge. But if you're ending a big race that you trained for in worse shape than you started, then you know what I mean. It's not a good place to be.
Such a knucklehead. Granted, this was oh my God, what year? 97?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last century. It was last century I did this. As my children like to tell me,
That's
you were
hilarious.
you were born last century. I'm like,
Less than
okay.
three.
But right, I couldn't get off the couch after
Yeah.
runs. You know what I mean? And the day after the marathon, I still remember I took the day off because it was on a Sunday. I took the day off from work and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go walk to like our food store. I'm like, I'm gonna go get a
Uh-huh.
magazine or something because I am on the couch doing nothing. And I was slower than the mail carrier. The mail carrier was like going up and like I think he kept passing me. And I'm like, now in hindsight, I know from my own personal journey, lifting weights, when I started eating up to my needs, there was a
Mhm.
time last year I'm like, I'm lifting heavier than I ever have been. I've upped my nutrition to meet that load and I wasn't sore. Like I
Mhm.
after
Yeah.
the workout, I was tired, but the next day I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pay for it." And recovery was so much better. So you come up with a coaching program for
Yes.
runners, right?
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
start them off? Like, okay, let's
So
start with someone, a beginning runner. How do
yes.
you support that
So
person?
with the training plans that I have a 5K and a half marathon plan. And with both of those, strength training is in it, and then each week is a nutrition and a mindset focus, because it's a whole, you need all of that in order to feel your best through doing it. And with both, if you're a beginner with the 5K or even with the half marathon, I start you off with timed running as opposed to distance running. So that's going to look like whatever speed it is. If it's running and walking, it's going to be, 10 minutes of this, and then, progressing, as opposed to saying go out and run, a half a mile or a mile, just because mentally it's a lot easier to think about distance, or it's a lot easier to think about time, going for a certain amount of time rather than distance. And so starting off with those, especially beginners, or I'll coach you, okay, oh, we're going to go out for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter how far you get in those 10 minutes. We just want one foot in front of the other that whole time. And then from there, it kind of comes out to, we'll have interval, so speed training, sprint interval. And again, that looks different for everybody. That could be a walk and a jog. That could be a jog and a sprint, whatever that is based on where you're at. And then it goes into, then we have an easy run and a distance run. So each week there's some form of that, and the timing and the intensity gets a little harder as you go on through the weeks. And then for the half marathon, it'll get harder up to a peak week, and then we'll kind of come down and then taper towards the week leading up to the half marathon, because you don't want to be overtrained when you're going into the race. You want to have that energy in reserve going into it.
Absolutely. And how do you coach nutrition along with the training?
Yes. So with the plans, each week there's a focus on nutrition, and it's more of a generalized guideline of nutrition. But with the plans also are calls with me. So we'll sit down and we'll talk about, what does your nutrition look like? How are you feeling going into it? What changes need to be made? Because nutrition guidelines are great, but again, like we already talked about, everybody is different. So it's hard to say like, this is what you need to follow, unless I know how do you do with following that? Where are you at with food? How do you approach tracking? How do you approach carbs? So it's more of an individualized process with that.
I love how you talk about the individualized process. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm not a runner, I bet you do something active. I am an avid tennis player. I know you have a lot of tennis in your
Yes.
family. I think your husband's a pro and your daughter is cleaning up on the courts,
She
from what I
is.
could tell.
She
Yes.
is. She just had a tournament this last weekend and did so good.
I saw, was it 3 singles? I was like, you've
She
got to be
played,
kidding.
so for the whole Saturday, she
Yeah.
played 3 singles and 1 doubles, and then Sunday she played 2 singles and 2 doubles and made it to the finals in both. Came in second for both of them, but she played so good.
That's awesome. So I personally have 3 matches. I have 2 on Saturday, 1 on Friday, and I'm already freaking out. That's a lot of matches for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to eat. So what I was getting back to is, even if you're not a runner, odds
Mhm.
are you're doing something active.
Yes.
Just your performance throughout the day. What are the common mistakes you see with your newer runners coming in to the program?
Yeah, I would say common mistakes with runners and in general, people getting into, like you said, getting into either sport or working out, are not eating enough food and not taking the recovery seriously. So a lot of times, one of the big things I'll work with runners is easy runs that's programmed in each week. And a lot of times people, and I was this myself, would look at that and be like, oh, I don't want to run slow. Like, what's the point in running if I'm not going to try to run fast? But having that time where it's kind of like an active recovery workout. It's taking that time to where you're still going through the motions. You're putting one foot in front of the other. You're getting miles in, but you're doing it at a pace that, let's say, if you and I were doing it, we could have a conversation. Now we'll be a little bit out of breath, but it's to where you can carry on conversation with somebody. That's how I like to tell people to gauge it, because that is the foundation of your future runs. That's the foundation of your PRs, your fastest miles, is being able to run and keep that steady state heart rate, kind of that steady state cardio, being able to keep that at that level, then you're able to build on it. So a lot of times we think we go from like a lot of people, we have that all or nothing mentality. So it can be, that could be with weight training. You'd be like, oh, if I'm not going to PR, why am I going to, I'm not going to pick up lower weights. Every time I'm going to try and go bigger and bigger and bigger. You can only do that for so long before your body starts to be like, wait a second, I haven't had any time to recover from what you're doing. So you have to step back in order to progress forward.
Recovery is such a huge part of anyone's fitness journey, and it's one we don't talk about enough, so I'm so happy you're bringing it up. I teach a strength training class here, and we had our deload week. It's like the start of our cycle, so I'm like, "Okay, this should actually feel somewhat easy compared to definitely compared to last week." I go, "Sometimes you might wanna take a week off.
Yeah.
Maybe you're dropping weights, or you're gonna do less reps." We talked through it, and it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to pull back because I think most people
Yes.
who join a sport or start something, you're right, we want that all or nothing, and we don't
Mhm.
realize how beneficial a little something can be
Right. Yeah,
sometimes.
absolutely. That's where the progress is going to come from. The
Mhm.
progress is going to come from your body being able to recover. And with that recovery is eating enough. Because like you had said
Right.
about not feeling as sore, I don't know if it's just diet culture or what it is, but it's like we feel like we don't all the time know how good it feels to be nourished. We don't
We
necessarily know
don't.
good it feels to be properly fueled. And we think going along with what we're saying about, always picking up the heavier weights or whatever, we have this mentality of like, if it, no pain, no gain. So like, if I'm not
Right.
sore after a workout or if I'm not covered in sweat, then it was worthless. What was the point? It wasn't a good workout. We have this expectation that everything has to be hard in order to be effective when you simplify it and you really look down at it, it's quite the opposite of it. It's those simple, consistent things that we're doing that are going to help us get to the progress we want to see, not these big, like, every now and then doing a really hard workout is going to,
Mhm.
that's not going to get us to where we want to be.
No, the best analogy I ever heard was think about a rock, and if you threw a big bucket of water at it, nothing on the rock would change, but if you dropped, a drip constantly over time, eventually a groove would form, and I'm like, "Oh, that helped me step back," like running, 'cause I don't anymore, but the times I have in the past, like, part of my brain or something went to where I was 10, 15 years ago or high school, and the body was like, "No, no, 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 don't do it." I love that part of your program is the functional strength aspect of it. Why is that? I'm trying to get half my tennis team to lift heavier weights because 'cause I'm like, "I can move better." I haven't hurt my hamstring in 3 knock on wood. I'm going on 3 seasons of not missing a match because the shoulder or the knee, I mean, granted, something can happen, you're running weird, but why is strength training so important for running?
Yes, it is one of those things that when, like I said, for a while I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to worry with it? I had a
Right.
little, I had a toddler. I was like, I don't have time to strength train. But if you think about it, everything is connected in our body, right? It's
Mhm.
a whole kinetic chain. Especially think about tennis and the movements.
Yeah.
You're hitting a forehand, but the power is coming from your hips. All of the things, everything works together. And so if you take the time to strengthen all of those different parts of the chain, everything will flow better. My biggest thing with running and what I have in all of my programs is unilateral training. Because if you think about it, you're never running on 2 feet. It's always one foot
I
and then
hope
the other
not.
foot. Yeah.
It's chewing.
Exactly. You're stopped. So we want to make sure when you're training that you're training unilaterally, meaning one leg. So pistol squats or,
Pistols, yeah.
single leg deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats, single leg calf raises, things like that. Obviously we'll do bilateral as well with regular
Yes.
squats and things, but the little imbalances, let's say in your glutes or your hips, those come into play with your knees and your shins and your calves. So whether it's running or it's playing tennis or it's playing another sport or doing another activity, if you're not strengthening the muscles around your ligaments, the muscles around your bones, the muscles that are helping to move your body, you are way more likely to get hurt. And you
Yes.
said, like, not being out with an injury for the past 3 seasons is huge because
Right.
that you're able, not only are you able to continue to do what you like to do, you're able to continue to progress. You have that consistency with it, and you don't have to worry about, being sidelined by an injury that's due to not having the strength to help you.
Right. And if you're listening and you're don't consider yourself an athlete, this goes for just our quality of life as well. Talk about protecting your body so you don't get injured. I mean, if someone's been listening consistently, like my biggest fear is having to be helped on and off the toilet at some point, like way before, and I
Yeah.
don't want that to happen, but that's going to happen if I trip and break a hip
Mhm.
or, and don't recover or something chronic pain happens and we don't want to live our lives that way.
No, not at all. And you think about it, there's the whole like surviving and compared to thriving. You know what I mean? Like, you need strength training to survive. Okay, maybe you can argue no, but do you need it to live a joyful life? Do you need it to thrive? Do you need it to be able to be confident and independent? Like you're saying, to get up and off the toilet. The stat, I don't know right off the top of my head, you might, but with women over the age, I believe, of 60 or 70 that break a hip, the stat of them getting out of the hospital is so low if they don't have
I
that
think
much
it's like,
help.
I mean, I don't know the exact, but it's something like 60% or
Yeah,
above that
I knew it
it's
was
a
over.
mortality factor. It's
Yes,
not that we're not going to walk well, it's that we're going to die.
not
Like,
survive. Yeah,
and I remember the first time I heard it, I thought, there's no way that's true. And
same.
I have found it fact checked time after time. Like I said, I don't have the exact number right now, but it
It's
is
high.
scarily high.
Yes.
Scarily high.
Yeah. And people
Yeah.
think a lot of times like, "Oh, you're working out for aesthetics, for look. Oh, I don't want to be bulky. Oh, I don't want to this or that." Like, it goes so much deeper than that. To I mean, for some people it's about looks, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It can be, but
Right.
the deeper need of it is to be able to live a life where you can do the things that you want to do and enjoy them.
Yeah. And being pain free, I gotta say, is so much worth being in a slightly bigger pair of pants. Like,
Yes.
that's something I've come around to. I'm like, you know what? Yes, I wear a bigger pair of jeans now. The scale's a little bit higher, but it's been
Mhm.
muscle. For
Right.
the most part, most of that's muscle. Like, yes, my butt is bigger, but like I said, I haven't blown out a hamstring in a while or tripped and fallen when I'm running for something because I am getting older and we have to take care. The one
Good.
question I end every podcast on, because it is a food podcast,
Yeah.
is what is your favorite food? What meal would you never give up?
What meal would I never give up? Well, I don't really give up a lot of food. I kind of
I
eat
know,
everything.
I love it. And why don't you? Well, oh, wait, wait, wait. Okay, well, before we go back, why
Yeah.
don't you give up a lot of food? Because I think I know your answer and I want them to hear it. Why don't you give up a lot of food?
I don't give up a lot of food because I feel like if I do, if I put that restraint on, like, you can't have this, you can't have that, then I am going to want it more by telling myself I can't have it. But also, I should say, the only food I don't eat is food that either I don't like or it doesn't agree with me. And there are certain foods that I know when I take them out of my diet, I feel a little better. But then there are also times where I'm like, I know that that plate of nachos I'm not going to feel the best afterwards, but I'm still going to eat it. I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but food is fuel. And so if you stop looking at one of the biggest things I say, and I actually just had a conversation with one of my daughter's 13 or 14-year-old friends about this. Food holds no morality. None whatsoever. Food is neither good nor bad. It doesn't make you good. It doesn't make you bad. It has no power in that world. And my best friend for the last 25 years, we've been best friends, and she'll still say, like, "Oh, I was good. I didn't, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, stop saying that. It doesn't matter. Your food choices do not dictate whether you're a good or a bad person. Food will make you feel good or it'll make you not feel good. And you, as an adult with a functioning brain, you get to choose. Do I want to feel this way when I eat this? Or do I want to feel this way when I eat that? So it's just making those choices of what you want to do and knowing what the consequences are if you do it, but you get to choose what that looks like.
I love what you said about morality with food. There's nothing, right? Like it might make you feel one way. I've done the same thing with nachos. I do it with potato chips are like would be my I'm like, well, we're doing this.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. Do I want it? Yes. Will, will I feel good in an hour and a half? Probably not. But then I've also learned, if I eat this portion of chips in a
Right.
non-restrictive, but this portion, I get the best of both worlds. If I eat the
Mhm.
bag, yeah, bad things are going to happen. And as an adult, we learn, do I want bad things to happen? No, I don't.
Right.
I will change my mind.
Right.
All right. I love that I'm so happy. I'm like, I think I know what her answer is. I want her to say it for those in the back, louder in the back.
Right?
But what's your favorite? What's your favorite? And it can be more than one
So
thing.
hard.
I
So hard.
know.
I think this might be boring, but I think it's rice.
I don't think it's boring. I think so many
I
people,
think
so
rice
many women have
and I
nodded to
really
rice.
yeah, but I can eat it. I remember when I was younger, I mean, I still kind of do this, but when I was a kid, I would make rice and I just put butter and Parmesan cheese, like sprinkle, Parmesan cheese and
Oh,
salt, and I would just eat that a lot. But I feel like rice because everything, like Mexican, but also Asian. I don't think I could ever give up rice.
I love it. I think that's a great answer. And I hope someone out there who has been saying no rice,
Yes.
like, I
Yeah.
don't want it, puts it back on their plate.
Right.
Kelly, it has been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to. I
Good.
think you've helped so many women, and I hope anyone out there who's scared of running gives
Yes.
Kelly a call.
Yes.
She will take care of you. Where can people find you out in the
Yeah.
world?
I'm most active on Instagram. It's
Perfect.
Chall Kel, Challkel. That's where you can see what I have going on and my running plans and all of that.
Excellent. And you can definitely watch Lunchtime Cooking with Kelly
Yeah.
on that channel. I love it. Highly recommend. You will get so many
Thank
easy,
you.
quick, doable ideas. So hopefully you never skip lunch again.
Yes.
Kelly, thank you. Have a
Thank you
great
so
rest of
much.
your day. I hope to talk to you again soon.
Me too.